if Islam and Mr. Gulen and Hizmet can inspire men and women to do what they do for love, in this crazy modern world, for love, then truly there is hope for all of us. I am the Reverend Dr. Jane Mauldin. I am a Unitarian Universalist minister. I've been active throughout my denomination, nationally and in the region, in leadership positions. I know that interfaith dialogue and understanding is a central part of Hizmet's focus. And that is what has brought me into the Hizmet world. I have had a life, both academically and in my chosen field of work in ministry, focused on dialogue and understanding with people of different faiths, backgrounds, and cultures. Yet I had not had such a wealth and deep experience with anyone in the Muslim world until I encountered Hizmet. Hizmet has invited me into a deep, passionate, and honest dialogue of differences and especially mutual understandings, that whatever our faith tradition, if we are inspired by a God who calls us to love one another, we have much in common and much to do together. We may pray different words, and yet if God calls us to love one another, then you and I have much to share and much good work to do in the world together. Hizmet has helped me understand this, a way of dialoguing with my millions and millions and millions of Muslim brothers and sisters in a way I never knew I could dialogue before. And I am deeply grateful for this experience. And I have shared it from numerous church pulpits where I preach on Sunday morning. I have shared it in some essays I have written for publication. And I have shared it one-on-one with other pastors and other ministers in my area, in minister groups, naming Hizmet and naming Mr. Gulen as the source for my deeper understanding of the good that Islam has to offer the world. When Christians are too often in America concerned with how Islam is interpreted by terrorists, I can speak from my own experience with Hizmet people, with the Atlas Foundation. I can speak from my own experience about how Islam calls us to love and do good in the world. And it is because of this dialogue of interfaith understanding that Hizmet has offered me that I can be yet one more voice for understanding in the world. Hizmet's emphasis on education is something that I am deeply impressed by and something that truly draws me to Hizmet, because a focus on education means we're not afraid of minds. We're not afraid of the life of the mind. We're not afraid of our youth learning to think. That teaching our youth to think, opening their minds, is truly makes a good future possible. I am very impressed with the idea that education is the ground for the hope of the future. When I traveled to Turkey a few months ago, I had the wonderful opportunity of visiting both a university and a high school in Istanbul, both schools that are founded and run by Hizmet. I was so impressed by the energy, the enthusiasm of the young people. There was a freedom to sit and talk and engage. Students clearly were given opportunities to question, to learn, to think. There were students from many different countries at the university where I visited. They were laughing, they were talking, they were discussing their books. They were in the laboratories working hard to become medical people, to become the leaders of the next generation. And they had come from all over the world and were given this opportunity by Hizmet, because Hizmet, from what I saw, truly understands how education will free us, if anything will, from poverty, from despair, from terrorism, from lack of hope. That education is truly the gateway to the future. I'm very impressed with Hizmet's charity work in their outreach to people all over the world, their immediate response to disasters, wherever they may be, not focused on the ethnicity or the religion of the people in trouble, but simply focused on the need, the deep human need. And I truly support and applaud the focus that Hizmet has on helping people in need without strings attached, without saying, we'll give you this food if you do this for me. I did not see that with Hizmet at all. I saw simply a willingness to serve people who needed help. When I was in Turkey, and I traveled with Hizmet people, and I met men and women and children and youth who were deeply dedicated to Hizmet, I kept having in the back of my mind, maybe this is too good to be true. What's really going on? Is there something hidden that I can't figure out? I could not, for the life of me, understand in this culture how men and women could be truly so unselfish. I sat in a lovely home with several other American Western travelers from Christian backgrounds, one man from a Jewish background, and we sat and talked following an iftar, lovely iftar meal. The men and women there were teachers, businessmen, a lawyer, a CPA, an executive. The women were educated and thoughtful. The youth were delightful. And every man, every family there gave a huge portion of their income to supporting Hizmet. Now, in the United States, where people supposedly support our Christian churches, if someone gives 10% of their income to a church, that is highly commendable. That is what is encouraged by the Christian scriptures, but rarely does anyone give 10%, truly. And I was learning that these families gave far, far, far more than that every year, at great sacrifice to their own families, to support the education projects, to support the outreach projects, to support the dialogue, the interfaith understanding. And I thought, how can this be? That people are so unselfish to give so much of themselves and of their families' resources. What's really going on? So late in the evening, I'd had 2 wonderful cups of tea after this lovely iftar meal in a home of a Hizmet family. I looked at the men and women in the room and I said, so tell me, why do you do this? Why do you give so much? Why do you do so much? And without a moment's hesitation, 3 men in the room said at the same moment, love. We do it for love. I was astounded. I was floored. It brings tears to my eyes now to remember it. That in all the troubles that we all are experiencing, all the challenges to be husbands and wives in this world, they give for love. You know, Christians claim to have the lock on love, that there's even a song that says, they will know we are Christians by our love. I have yet to hear many Christians say, we do the sacrifice of our own lives for love. This wasn't a theologian talking. This wasn't an imam talking. This was a lawyer. This was a CPA. This was a housewife. We do this for love. So I've had to go back and really examine closely my understanding of Islam and my respect for Islam. If Islam and Mr. Gulen and Hizmet can inspire men and women to do what they do for love, in this crazy modern world for love, then truly there is hope for all of us. I see Mr. Gulen someone who inspires people to truly love one another, to do good in the world, to do the best work they can do for what they are called to do.
I think if the Hizmet movement were more widely based, we wouldn't have the problems that we have in the world today.